Have you ever discovered a secret that changed everything you knew about someone? Enter Sarah, a woman in her 30s, seated in a house filled with memories and remnants of the past. This is her late grandfather's house, a man who was her only family and who raised her from the tender age of 6. He was strict, distant, a mystery in his own right. Sarah's voice breaks the silence, recounting her childhood with him. My grandfather was the only family I had left. He raised me since I was 6 after my parents died in a car accident. But growing up, he was always so strict and distant. As she rummages through old boxes in the attic, her fingers stumble upon a box marked Secret. A ripple of intrigue sweeps over her. Inside, she finds an envelope, her grandfather's handwriting scrawled across it. To my dearest love, if you ever find this letter, she reads aloud, a stunned expression on her face. What could this be? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Sarah sighs, her eyes trailing over the mountains of documents and records spread across the library table. The journey of uncovering her grandfather's secret love has been filled with excitement, but also frustration. Emily, her best friend, sits across from her own eyes reflecting the same determination. We knew this wouldn't be easy, Sarah, she says, flipping through an old town registry. But remember, we're detectives in our own real-life mystery story. How thrilling is that? The days turn into weeks. The two friends immerse themselves in the world of the past, visiting libraries and archives, scanning through countless documents and piecing together fragments of a bygone era. The scent of old paper, the echo of silent reading rooms, and the thrill of each new discovery become their shared universe. Sarah learns more about her grandfather in these weeks than in all the years she spent with him. Every document, every record, every photograph tells a story. He was more than just the strict, distant man I knew, she muses, staring at an old photograph of him. He was a man with a secret, a man in love. Yet despite their relentless effort, the identity of the dearest love remains elusive. This is harder than finding a needle in a haystack, Sarah laments. It's like searching for a single grain of sand in a desert. Opening, you must be Sarah? A question that echoes through the air as Sarah and Emily enter the somber setting of a funeral. The air is thick with the scent of lilies and the hushed whispers of mourners. They've come to pay their respects to a woman named Elizabeth, a name they stumbled upon in an old newspaper article. A name that might hold the key to the mystery they've been trying to unravel. In the midst of the mourners, they meet the woman who posed the question. She's a bit older than Sarah, her eyes reflecting the same kind of loss that Sarah knows all too well. My mother spoke about your grandfather, she says, her voice soft, almost reverent. He was quite fond of my mother. A wave of realization washes over Sarah. Could this be the dearest love her grandfather had written about? The woman her grandfather had loved and lost, the reason behind his stern demeanor. Elizabeth, a woman who had been married before, who had her own tale of love and heartbreak. The pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place. Sarah and Emily exchange a look, a silent conversation passing between them. They share their discovery with Elizabeth's daughter, telling her about the letter and the mystery that brought them here. Elizabeth's daughter listens, her expression softening as she hears their story. My mother left her husband because of his infidelity, she reveals. The truth hits Sarah like a punch in the gut. It explains so much about her grandfather's behavior, his strictness, his distance. He was trying to protect her, to shield her from the pain he had experienced. Sarah feels a lump in her throat. She had spent so many years resenting her grandfather's stern demeanor, not understanding the reason behind it. And now, here she was, standing in the midst of a funeral, unraveling the truth of her grandfather's past. The truth doesn't change the past, but it does shed light on it. Sarah feels a sense of closure, a sense of understanding. With a heavy heart, she thanks Elizabeth's daughter for sharing her mother's story. Closing. He was quite fond of my mother, Elizabeth's daughter repeats, a small smile playing on her lips as she watches Sarah and Emily leave, the mystery of Sarah's grandfather finally solved. Thank you for sharing this with us. The words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of years of unanswered questions. Sarah's gaze rests on Elizabeth's daughter, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise, sadness, and understanding. A whirlwind of emotions sweeps through Sarah as she tries to absorb this newfound truth. Her grandfather, the stern and distant figure from her childhood, wasn't just the austere man she'd always known. He was a man who had loved and lost, a man who had been scarred by betrayal. Elizabeth's daughter speaks again, breaking the silence. "My mother left her husband because he was unfaithful to her." The revelation is stark, raw, and it cuts through the air like a knife. It's a bitter truth, but it is the truth nonetheless. Sarah's mind races back to her childhood. The stern rebukes, the constant emphasis on discipline and respect, it all starts to make sense now. Her grandfather wasn't just being strict. He was trying to protect her, to shield her from the pain he had experienced. He was trying to instill in her the values that he believed could save her from the heartbreak he had endured. A wave of empathy washes over Sarah. She realizes that her grandfather's harsh exterior was a facade, a protective armor he wore to guard his wounded heart. She sees him in a new light, not as the distant figure from her childhood, but as a man who loved deeply and was deeply hurt. Sarah's heart aches for her grandfather, for the pain he must have carried all those years. But amidst the sorrow, there's a spark of relief. She finally understands why he was the way he was. She finally understands the man who raised her. "My mother always said he was a good man, just misunderstood," Elizabeth's daughter says, her voice soft and gentle. Sarah nods, her heart heavy but her mind clear. "And now we understand too. The truth has been revealed, the mystery solved." And with that understanding comes a sense of closure, a sense of peace. Sarah's journey to uncover the truth about her grandfather has come to an end, but her journey to understand and appreciate him is just beginning. "I finally understand why he was so strict." Sarah and Emily step out of the church, the solemnity of the funeral still hanging in the air. The sun shines gently on their faces, a stark contrast to the heavy revelations of the day. The mystery that had consumed their lives for weeks was now solved, and with it came a sense of closure that was as comforting as it was bittersweet. As they walk down the street, their shoes clicking softly against the pavement, Sarah's thoughts are filled with memories of her grandfather, memories that now hold new meaning. The stern face, the raised voice, the distant demeanor. They were all pieces of a puzzle she had finally solved. Her grandfather, once a mystery, was now a man bearing the weight of a lost love, channeling his own heartache into a protective shield around the young girl he was raising. Emily, ever the supportive friend, walks silently beside Sarah, allowing her the space to process her emotions. She understands the importance of this moment for Sarah, the shift in the narrative of her childhood. It's a moment of transformation, a moment of understanding, and most importantly, a moment of healing. Sarah's mind drifts to the secret letter, the catalyst for this journey into her grandfather's past. The words, "To my dearest love," echo in her mind, a testament to a love that was lost but never forgotten. She now knows that her grandfather's strictness was not born out of anger or resentment, but out of a desire to protect, to prevent her from experiencing the same heartbreak he did. The realization washes over Sarah like a wave, bringing with it a newfound appreciation for her grandfather. She realizes that despite his strictness, despite the distance he maintained, he loved her. He loved her enough to raise her, to protect her, to instill in her the resilience she needed to navigate life's challenges. As Sarah looks up at the sky, a gentle smile spreads across her face. She feels a sense of peace, a sense of understanding. But it doesn't change the fact that he loved me. And with that, she steps into a future filled with understanding, love, and the knowledge that her grandfather's spirit will always be with her.